This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Offering wise counsel on seeking wise counsel. Welcome back to another edition of Real Answers, a regular Wednesday feature during the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues that matter to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Welcome back, Chris.
Thanks, Mark. Good to be back.
Think of any famous leader throughout history, and they likely had a trusted advisor helping them call the shots. And Chris, I know as a professional counselor, this has to be a topic near and dear to your heart. You know, having a wise counselor, formal or otherwise, is, man, just worth its weight in gold.
It totally is. You know, as a counselor too, there are times that I'll get clients come in and I'm just really not entirely sure what to do about a particular situation. So I have got professionally, as well as in my private personal life, folks that at times I turn to and ask questions, sometimes as basic as, what do I do? So, I mean, and that's just, it is so important because, and especially in today's day and age, Mark, where there's just so many issues that are changing so rapidly that we need to be on our game on this one.
Absolutely. Some of the wisest counsel is simply saying, sometimes I don't know. You know, scripture is full of advice, especially if you go to Proverbs, it's like all about this. You know, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice. But getting to where the good advice is can be pretty challenging. You almost need some, like you said, some counsel to discern what isn't good counsel. We go to the biblical story of Job and the good and really bad advice he got from his friends, no matter how well-intentioned, even his wife. Classic example of how that can go. And now we've got AI bots dishing out advice for us.
That's true. And the bigger question is, how then do I choose my personal advisors? What is the way that I can best choose a group of folks to help just in my own life? And I would say, of course, the first thing is, do they have a personal and genuine relationship with the Lord? Do they understand why it's so important to themselves to be part of a personal network? Because there is times also that they are going to ask you. They might come to you. And so remember, this is a two-way street. This is not just, all right, I need folks to tell me how to live my life. These are folks where at times they should also be willing to ask you. And so making sure that they have that personal relationship with the Lord. And quite honestly, I'm just going to say this. If they just go to church once in a while, like, oh, yeah, you know, I grew up in America, I'm a Christian, right? No. That you want to see evidence that they are also believers and that they have a vested interest in growing in their faith and helping others grow in their faith too. So definitely you want them to meet that criteria. And then, of course, there's other things you can look for too. Do they share other interests? Is it easy to converse with them? You know, that type of thing. So really what we're kind of talking about here too is how to make friends. And so everybody that comes into my office as a client, one of the first things I do in the very first session is assess who is in that all-important support system. How many times have folks heard me say that since I've been doing this segment? And it's probably almost every week because it's so important that folks do this. But again, do they have a personal relationship with the Lord? Do they see the value in being able to move beyond the superficial in conversations and say, hey, look, this is a tough life we're living. I mean, none of us have done this before. We're all on our first round on living life here on earth, and you know the next round is in heaven. So you're a believer, and it's going to be a whole lot easier there. And so really, again, it's important to look for folks that have a personal relationship with the Lord that's vibrant and genuine, and they're also that you really connect with, because there are some folks that you just might not actually connect with, even if they do have a personal relationship with the Lord. So those are two really important issues. And then, of course, we can also talk about how do you look for guidance in other folks outside your personal realm. In other words, where are you getting your information from? I mean, that one is also another important question that we can discuss as well.
You're listening to Real Answers. I'm Mark Webster, along with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. We're talking about seeking wise counsel. I saw this written recently. I thought it was pretty good. Sincerity is not a substitute for truth. Advice given with good intentions can still be scripturally or just situationally incorrect.
It can. And we have to just understand and make sure that something that sounds good really truly is lining up with scripture, and making sure that we're applying things in the correct context and you know, not taking scripture out of context. One thing too, Mark, that I really caution people against is that they're not too quick to just throw, like you'll be talking to somebody, they'll hear something that you know you've answered before, and then without even stopping to completely listen to what they're saying, you throw out some scripture at them, and even if it's an accurate application of the scripture, it can come across as being somewhat superficial, or you're not really stopping to listen to the other person. It can come across as very flippant. So we want to make sure that when we are giving people encouragement and using quotes, even if they're not scripture, even if they're completely true, but not necessarily scripture, that we're taking the time to really stop and listen and consider what the person's saying to us and asking us before we give a very fast answer that can really come across as not really truly caring.
Let's sum it up then. The hallmarks of a good counselor, how you can discern it, biblically sound certainly is a key. What are some of those other factors?
That they are taking the time, again, to listen to what you're actually asking, that you have a good relationship with them, that you come right out and ask them, say, hey, listen, there might be times, would you be willing if I give you a call in the middle of the night if I need to? And again, this is not something that's just for folks that are having serious concerns. This is also proactively trying to assess, say, look, none of us are doing this together. Social isolation in our country is so big that people need to take the time to proactively consider this before the difficulties arise. And so having direct conversations with folks and say, hey, would you like to get some coffee and, get together and then actually discuss this actual topic with them and say, hey, I'm just trying to make sure I've got some folks in my corner. And I'd love to be in your corner too. If you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to call me. Even if it's at 2 a.m. and you really need help, I'm here for you. Making sure there's that mutuality. And again, making sure that they've got a proven track record with their faith in the Lord, that they're active in their faith. It doesn't mean they have to be doing everything, but you want to make sure that they're actually involved in a church and that there's some other involvement that you're seeing that says, yeah, these people really truly invest in others, and then be willing to invest in them too. That's a big part of this. Again, making sure that it's a two-way street and that folks are willing to accept your input and that they know also that you are there for them. Now, something you want to also be very careful of is this process. You shouldn't be going through it too quickly, okay? You want to really get to know somebody before you divulge whether, especially if you're going through something very serious, because not everybody has shown that they can be trusted with sensitive information. So you want to be very careful with that as well. And that just might take some time, some coffees, some breakfast, some lunches, getting together and just building those relationships. And then eventually you'll see, yeah, this person's the real deal. I can really lean on them, trust them, respect each other's confidentiality and privacy as well, because that's an important part of it.
A lot of very important advice and counsel starts with a cup of coffee and a sympathetic ear.
I love coffee, man. I'll tell you what, coffee is the best way to start a relationship.
Absolutely. You've been listening to Real Answers. I'm Mark Webster, along with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. It's a Wednesday feature of the Family Life Noon Report. Thanks again, Chris.
It's my pleasure, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.